want to say something also about Didon, because he actually experienced a loss like what I've experienced. And, you know, we see people in the public domain, and oftentimes we forget that they are private people too, that they have families, they have other people who depend on them, they have loved ones in their lives, and oftentimes we receive their love on the community level and forget about the personal. But I don't know if I should even, if I can say this, Didon, but Didon lost his mother. And it's, with me just having lost my father, it's hard. And, you know, these are people that you think, oh, I'm going to start crying. But these are people that you think never are going to leave you. And then they leave you. And so maybe I should have stuck to the prepared remarks. But it's also a little bit about what motivated me to actually just go over there and be on the other side, the receiving end of NATO's shock and awe. My father had a kind of a disdain for people who just mark time. They live their lives every day, and yet they end up doing nothing but just breathing and taking up space. And so after my father, that's what I was about to become. I was about to become a person who just was marking time because I couldn't see beyond my own personal pain. And I was becoming something that I loathed. Thank you very much. I began to loathe myself because I couldn't see beyond waking up every morning and crying for what I didn't have, and going to bed at night and crying for what I didn't have. And at the same time, I understood that I wasn't alone in the world experiencing that pain, because people all over the world are losing their loved ones for craziness. They're losing their loved ones for no reason at all, and except that we have too many people in this country just marking time. Yeah. I had this self-loathing, and at the same time, there was tremendous spirit all around me, because, of course, you know, I went to Gaza, and I saw Gaza after Israel's Operation Cast Lead, and the first scene as we were entering Gaza was of a wedding. And so despite the F-16s and the helicopter gunships and the dime weapons and the depleted uranium and all of that, despite all of that, there was still love and life in Gaza. And somehow I knew that I had to make a stand of some sort so I could bring myself out of this marking time. And I gained inspiration from the founders of the International Solidarity Movement, because those young people went and put themselves on the front lines, and they faced whatever the Palestinians were facing at the hands of the Israelis. One of the founders of of the International Solidarity Movement is Huwaida Araf, who was really responsible for me even being able to experience what I experienced with Gaza, because she is now the executive director of the Free Gaza movement. And now, of course, we know what has happened. They went in 5 times and nothing was supposed to happen. On the 6th time, that's when they rammed us. The 7th time, that's when they kidnapped us. The 8th time is when they literally, the Israelis murdered people. And the Israelis had lists. They were searching for certain individuals to be on those boats. So it was Huwaida and all of the people culminating with the sacrifice of Rachel Corrie that reminded me of Mario Savio's words, because what Mario Savio said, they actually did. Put our bodies against the gears and the levers and the wheels of the machine, and we say to the owners of the machine, either you stop it or we'll stop it. That was the definition of the International Solidarity Movement for me. So when NATO, when this thing happened, well, first of all, I was in Libya just literally days before the outbreak. It was almost as if they were waiting for us to leave. Muammar Gaddafi had called together all of the Africans in the diaspora, Africans from the continent, to come to Tripoli and talk about the dignity of Africans and the human rights of Africans as they are being mistreated and abused in the European setting, in America, and wherever else we happen to be. And I had a lot of people with me in that delegation who had never been to Africa before. And actually, honestly, even though I've been to Africa, I don't know how many times, it was the first time I had seen he had all of the kings there. So I saw African royalty all there with Muammar Gaddafi, with all of these other African princes and princesses and average activists like me, and we were all there asserting the dignity of African people. It was so beautiful to be there, but he, even at that event, said, he also announced $90 billion to the African Union for a United States of Africa. $90 billion he announced at that event for the to see the fruition of a United States of Africa. And he said, though, that there's trouble in the East and there's trouble in the West, and of course there was sure to be trouble in Libya, because Libya was certainly a target. He knew that. And as soon as we all left and Tripoli was back to normal, that's when we learned that Tripoli was indeed a target, that Libya was a target. Now, the video that I have is video that you will not have ever seen before. Now, one of the things that I have learned to understand is the deep gut, not just disappointment, it's almost a hatred that I have for the special interest press, because they are lying, actively lying to us. What? Conglomeration of alphabets, it's not even a soup that's digestible. be there on the night that NATO did their intense bombing, what they called intense bombing. That was 26 to 29 bombs. And, well, that was kind of earth-shattering for me because I never experienced anything like that. And you could see the missiles going over. You could hear the bomb. You could feel it. The hotel shook. Some of the windows broke. But when something happened, which I can't remember now, and then NATO started bombing during the daytime, and it was nonstop. From 11 a.m. to 11:30 p.m., there were 89 bombs. In fact, they bombed so much that NATO ran out of bombs. And Canada is now in the process of acquiring 1,000 more bombs to continue with the program. Now everyone is asking, why is this happening? And the video is here and ready, thank goodness. The appropriate question is not only why, but what are we going to do to stop it? Everyone here must take note of what is happening in Congress right now. And Congress must exercise its authority and rein in this president. Yes! If this president proceeds, now we already know that this president is guilty of committing war crimes. Yes! We know that. Now, if having oral sex is an impeachable crime, certainly war crimes and crimes against humanity are also impeachable crimes. Right. Ignoring the War Powers Act and the Constitution is an impeachable crime. Yes. If President Obama refuses to heed public opinion in the United States, 60% of which is against the involvement against Libya, if he is determined to violate the Constitution and violate the War Powers Act and defy Congress, and I'm hoping that we will bring enough pressure to bear on our members of Congress that they will follow the House and in the Senate also vote to cut off the funding for this NATO operation. Yes. Because of what NATO is doing in Libya, what we're seeing is the Israelization of NATO policy against the people of Libya. Whether it's collective punishment, NATO now is refusing to allow food, fuel, and medicine to come in as they bomb people and hurt people. NATO is refusing to allow Libya to import the necessary medicine. That too is against international law. Yeah. That makes our president's actions also criminal in the collective punishment that is being visited upon the Libyan people. They can't even fish in their own territorial waters because NATO is stopping that. Sounds a lot like Gaza, doesn't it? Yeah. So I would like, this video is pretty comprehensive. I hope you all can spend the time to look at it, and then afterwards we'll come back and have question and answer period. Thanks, Ann.